Hi friends, we are back in the bathroom, which means it's time for... Welcome back to Cast Talk, where I chat with y'all in the bathroom with the microphone because why not? As y'all have seen by the title of today's video, it's gonna be very transparent. I have been meaning to film this video for a minute. I've just been kind of going back and forth, and even the title I went back and forth on, and I was finally like, Cassie, let's just lay it all out. What is there to hide? I think I just have a fear that Caleb Hammer's gonna find me and call me to his show. Yeah, so let's just get into it. I'm actually kind of excited about today's video. It's something that I've been very aware of and self-conscious about for a while now, and I really feel like speaking about it and opening up about it not necessarily makes me feel like relatable, but if you can relate, then amazing. But it definitely makes me feel more accountable, more able to hold myself accountable, especially talking about it on video. I think just in the realm of accountability, this is really just kind of like a video diary to myself and anyone else who relates. But enough intro chat, let's get into it. So basically, you guys, I have been in what feels like a non-stop debt payoff journey. I was actually luckily introduced to Dave Ramsey pretty early on, like I want to say 2020. Yeah, around 2020, I read Holy Money Makeover. Read that book in a week, fastest book I ever read, and was obsessed and was locked into the Dave Ramsey plan. At the time, I was teaching. It was the pandemic, so I didn't actually have to go to work, but I was still getting my paycheck. I moved home with my parents at the time. After college, I had moved back in with them, so I wasn't really paying too much in rent, and I was getting the stimulus checks. So after reading Total Money Makeover, you guys, I was going ham toward starting with my student loan debt because that was my smallest debt at the time. And then I did have credit cards. I think I had like an Amex, an Apple card. I think I had a few credit cards. I had my car loan, and then I had student loans. So I had instantly pretty much paid my credit cards, got the emergency fund filled up. Those are pretty quick considering I pretty much could use as much of my income as possible. I was going ham on my student loans. I got my student loans paid halfway down, and then when Biden came into office, I did just say, let me switch to my car loan for now since I'm already paying my car note. And luckily I got my car at 1.99%. It was a luxury vehicle. We'll get back to that later, but I did get it at a good interest rate. And So basically I switched everything to my car just in case student loan forgiveness happened. And so I was able to completely pay off my car, and I still have that same car. I bought it 2019, so it's been about 6 years now, and it's been holding strong thus far, so I'm keeping it. For now, it doesn't make sense for me to trade it in with the value. It is a Mercedes-Benz, but it is a CLA 250. The pricing wasn't too bad when I bought it. It was a demo model, and it did have 10K miles on it. But yes, as far as maintenance costs, gas costs over time, that all adds up. Paying for new tires, yes, but right now it just doesn't make sense for me to trade it in because I haven't owed anything on it for years, and the value just doesn't translate, and I wouldn't get enough cash to pay for something else. So it just makes sense right now for me to keep my car and this and that, but hopefully later on we'll get more into how I feel ultimately about buying a luxury car straight out of college. But it kind of worked out for me in that scenario, but let's go back to where we are now. So fast forward at the end of 2020, as the world started to open up, I was finally ready to move out of my parents' house. So like I said, at this time, car was getting paid off, pretty good cash flow. I made a smart decision and decided when I move out, I was going to have a roommate. So me and my best friend got an apartment together. We were roommates, still had a great cash flow, but of course the world was opening up. So, I was spending a lot more money at the time, but again, it was fine. I was still able to keep my credit cards paid down and pay more toward my student loans. Fast forward, I finally decided, okay, it's time for me to get my own apartment. I did get my own apartment. It was a bit larger, a lot more expensive, and this is kind of where I started to really feel the imbalance and the slowdown of paying down my credit cards. So for me, I'm extremely impulsive, so as soon as I felt that, I actually paid to terminate my lease and once again moved back home so that I could increase my income, and then went back and paid off said credit cards. So everything was going pretty well about that time, living at home, living well below my means. I was still getting increases and raises and such at work. I got a new job in corporate America that was much higher paying and included bonuses, etc. So then I decided I wanted to get into real estate and buy my first home. So with that, at first I was really looking into multifamily properties so that I can create an investment opportunity, but it was just becoming so hard and so long to save up for, which is fine. I should have just been patient, but it's okay. So it was taking so long to save up for that I was like, you know what, let me just buy a single family home. This is kind of where I just kind of got caught up in social media, online expectations and this and that, and just assumed that I needed to buy a house. I knew I didn't want to buy an apartment. When I looked at apartments, I was leaning more toward the high-rise luxury lifestyle, and when I saw the price tag, I was like, well, that's the same price as a house, so I feel like I might as well buy a house. So I do feel better that I made that decision versus putting about the same amount toward an apartment. But still, you guys saw the title, so we got here somehow. I then went on the search to find my house. If you guys followed me on my last channel, that was actually an entire vlog series. It's not posted anymore, but there was a whole vlog series that I had, just house hunting, getting my house, like all of that good stuff. It was one heck of a process. I did do a lot of prayer over it. I did say, God, if this is not what you want me to do, then don't put me in this situation, but we'll go back to that. Fast forward, after jumping through a few hoops and obstacles, I did finally purchase a home in December of 2023. At the end of the day, I did have the methods to pay for the home and pay for the mortgage and etc., and luckily it was a new build home, so I don't have to worry about maintenance and haven't had to worry about maintenance for a minute. But similar to when I had my apartment, my lifestyle had changed, but my habits and my behavior when it comes to money didn't change. So yes, I bought my new house, loved it, but I didn't shift my lifestyle. So I still wanted to go travel and go on international trips, and I still wanted to create my own businesses and invest into myself, etc. So those two things pretty much clashed, and that's where things started to go downhill. It started with me starting my business, which again, if you guys are familiar with my previous channel or anything about me, I started a business called Venom, which was an athletic wear clothing business, which was one of my dreams and goals to start for a long time. So while I was in my house, I finally went for it, found a manufacturer, purchased my inventory, put it up for sale. Putting these items for sale didn't go as well as I thought. I thought post them, scarcity mindset, build a whole marketing campaign around them. Of course they're gonna sell out. Yeah, that's not how it works. So with that being said, we now had a ton invested into a business that was not generating the same amount of revenue that was invested into it, had a new house note, and decided why the heck not go to the Philippines with my friends. So at some point I did get back and pretty much hit me like, yeah, once again, like when I was in that apartment by myself, I can't pay off things as fast as I used to because now I'm paying so much for where I live. So what is a girl to do except move back home again? But this time I've now actually invested into a house, so I can't just terminate a lease. So instead I decided to put my house on Airbnb. And so that's what I did. For a whole year, my home was on Airbnb. I moved back home, was generating income from that. Not only did I generate income from that, I ended up picking up an NIL client and was generating income from that. And at that time, between work, client, and Airbnb, I was bringing in more income than I ever had in my entire life. Yes, I still did have to pay for my mortgage and utilities and etc. So I still had higher expenses. But again, I brought that income back up. But my mindset wasn't go home to fix my issues. My mindset was go home so that I can invest more into my business, so that I can be successful. So therefore, all that extra income was pretty much flooding right back into Venom and the business and the launch and the marketing campaign and the inventory, etc. So once I realized I have a lot more learning to do when it comes to being an entrepreneur and starting a product-based business, I decided probably a good time for me to go and get my MBA. Something I've kind of wanted to do, as a Black girl in corporate America. It doesn't hurt to have an extra degree on top of everything that you do. So something kind of on my list, and I was like, you know what, it's a 2-year process. If I apply now, I can start by the time I'm like 27, 28, so I'll be done before 30. the whole before 30 thing I talk about in my video, falling behind in your 20s. So we won't get too into that here. So that was kind of my mindset. So I went and applied for some of the top programs. I went to a top program undergrad. Why wouldn't I go to a top program grad school? So the two main programs I was looking at were Cornell University and University of Texas, and ended up going with University of Texas, which did save me $50,000 if we're using girl math, but either way, an MBA at a top school, it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. Fast forward, I'm living at home. I'm not loving it. My commute to work now is well over an hour, and I've been able to now to use my resources from living at home to pay down my debt enough for me to come back into my house. So after a year, August of 2025, forget what year it is, August of 2025, I finally closed out Airbnb and moved back into my home. Like I said, at this point, I knew it was time to cut down on my lifestyle. We pretty much stopped the business, and I was focusing on school and work while I was home, and other ways that I can generate revenue, such as YouTube and content creation. So we've been home for a while now, and as much as I've tried to not spend on the things that I typically would spend a lot of money on, again, it's not really a knowledge thing for me. It's more of a behavior and a habitual thing. So I did end up continually racking on credit card debt in this process of moving home. I did have, I think, 4 credit cards at the time, and I was able to get rid of 2 of them, make a deal on the one that pretty much paid for my entire clothing brand, so that was turned into a loan, and the credit card was closed, and then I had lower interest rates on that minimum payment, and so that leaves me with 1 more credit card that I am paying down. But that one credit card was also sustaining me for emergencies and anything that came up. Just had to replace the coolant. I just had a leak in the coolant, whatever it's called, on my car, and that was a crazy amount, which brings us back to paying for luxury cars ultimately, even if you don't pay as much when you buy them. With that being said, that one credit card became my emergency card and quickly started to build up. Even though I had a plan to pay it off, it built up so much that the payoff plan didn't really matter anymore, because it was double the cost of what I was planning on paying off. Long story short, we are in a lot of debt. We are in a lot less than I was in, but we are still in a lot more debt that I am comfortable in being in. And it's sad because I am an avid listener to Dave Ramsey, his podcast, his show, his book. I just got into Caleb Hammer. I am so into finances and learning about finances, and even though I read all kinds of things about finances, I really understand Dave Ramsey's philosophy. I love the simplicity of it, and I do understand it, but I think what always kind of held me back a lot with his philosophy was not having any credit cards, and I just kind of grew up to where credit cards were like your emergency fund, or we needed credit cards, so it just I couldn't correlate not having a credit card, so I was pretty much half the Dave Ramsey plan. So that's where this time around is going to be a bit different, but we'll come back to that. So if you saw the title of this video, I am currently over $500,000 in debt, $504,975.94 to be exact. Now, about $304,000 of that is my house. So if we're looking specifically at consumer debt, then that is about $200,000 of consumer debt. To break down the consumer debt, my one and last credit card is my Gold Amex, which I've had for the longest, which is why that's the one I held on to the longest. And that one is currently sitting at $19,891.19. And that is one I have been aggressively attacking right now. My Chase loan, which is the one that was a credit card that I was able to negotiate into a loan and close that credit card, is sitting at $22,478.76, and this was the one that pretty much funded the business. And my 401k loan, which I took out to help consolidate some of the previous credit cards, is currently at $12,910.90. And lastly, my student loans, which include the rest of my undergrad loans that I stopped paying, as well as my grad school loans, and that currently sits at $89,504.88 But as I finish the grad school program, which I'm currently in, it will ultimately equate to around $145,000, with $15,000 of that being from undergrad and $130,000 being from grad school. So it's kind of crazy because looking at it, I'm just like, okay, my credit cards don't feel as bad as like student loans. But I always just grew up with student loans are low interest. It's okay. Like, you're investing into yourself. So I think that mentality just made me feel like, okay, student loans are okay. Home loan is okay, but everything else is bad debt. So that is pretty much a breakdown of where this huge number comes from. I do oftentimes will let myself get overwhelmed by it if I overthink it, but my aim right now is really just not to overthink it, focus on that smaller number that I'm attacking right now and just focus on that one number. It is good to have a gauge of how much debt you're in, but focus on that one number so I don't overwhelm myself, and as well as just the fact that I really do believe in myself. I believe that I can do it. And I am so happy to have shows like the Dave Ramsey Show and the Caleb Hammer Show, because they don't encourage people to file for bankruptcy and these things in this situation. They actually give tangible steps that you can take. So without me having to call into the show, I can still get a lot of advice, see people in very similar situations, and just take on those steps. I do like to just give myself some good news and commend myself on things where I did close down 3 credit cards, and now I'm only down to 1. I did pay off my car. I did pay off half of my undergrad loans. So I do like to remind myself that I believe at the time that I got into a lot of this debt was because I knew I did all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I paid off $50,000 in debt. It'll be easy for me to pay off $50,000 more. Logically, I don't know why that makes sense when I now have such a large expense such as a home or mortgage. I don't know why I would correlate those things, but we are smarter and we are better now, okay? So what exactly is the plan to get out of this hole? So the number one main big thing that I'm really trying to hone down and focus on is major budget cuts. I just redid my entire budget the other day, and I found places where we are cutting things. We are cutting hair. I just did my hair myself today instead of going to the salon. We are cutting nails. My boyfriend paid for these because he knows I'm cutting nails. So thank you for that. But yeah, we are cutting out all beauty routines because they're things I can do from home, and they're just not necessary, and we don't have space for them right now. I cut a ton of my subscriptions, one of the ones being my gym membership at work. I have a free gym, so I just use that gym, and if I do feel the need to work out and I'm not at work, I can go. There's nearby trails, there's at-home workouts, there's other options, but I cut budget down to the bare freaking bones, mainly because I needed to pay the minimum of the interest on the credit cards. So I'm already paying minimums for the Chase loan since I negotiated it. The 401k loan is already coming out of my paycheck, and so I needed to pay the minimum as well for the Amex loan, and I needed to pay more than the interest that it's accumulating so that we're not stuck in an ongoing cycle. So since I was able to do that, I do feel a lot more confident because I know I can actually pay off the Amex, get the interest down, and pay it off while competing with the interest. So that made me feel a lot better just seeing that. But that's going to be a big thing, was budget cuts. I'm also going to sell high value items. Since my house was Airbnb, I have some furniture in here that I don't need, that's unnecessary. I have so much tech and film equipment because I've been on YouTube and been in filmmaking for so long. I've just happened to collect like a ton of equipment. So we're going to definitely do that, and then maybe sell some smaller things like clothes, etc. And so those are just things that I feel like if I really honed in and sat down and locked in for a week, I could just knock out. They can give me a lump sum of money, and I can put that toward my debt. The next thing, I want to use my skill set of marketing and design and start to take clients. I did take clients back in the day, and I kind of stopped, but yeah, we're not in the position to do that. So I want to go back to taking marketing clients, design clients, retainer clients, literally any little thing I can get paid for, even if I can find part-time social media roles, something like that, something in that realm that I can just do from home, since I am working full-time, getting my part-time MBA. Time is very slim, but I'm still willing to do what I need to do. So these are the plans for now, but if I do need to just go get a part-time role, then that is what we'll do. Obviously, right now I'm using my income from my job. Like I said, I have very little margin. I did the budget cuts so that we can be at least above the minimum payment and at least above the the interest of my credit cards. So very little margin with that. Honestly, my house, which I'm probably gonna have a video more specifically about, is about 50% of my take-home pay. So that's already mistake number, yeah. Don't even know what mistake number that is, but like I said, we'll get more into that in later videos. But yeah, so my house is sucking up my income. Also, I did say monetize social media, but that's honestly on the timeline of social media. It's nothing I could really do except for show up and be consistent. So hopefully I'm able to monetize on YouTube. I've done it twice before, but my content is a bit different than what I was doing in the past. So I don't know when this channel will eventually be monetized, but once it is, you guys paying for myself, okay? There's also opportunities, and these can kind of go into budget cuts, but to renegotiate my insurance. I'm paying very high amount in car insurance and home insurance. So shopping around, renegotiating, getting those rates lower, as well as potentially renegotiating my interest rate with Amex. I did it with Chase, so I don't see why I couldn't do it with Amex. So that might be a potential option there. And that also might close my Amex, which puts me out of the ability to even spend what I don't have. Lastly, I know some people might say, why don't you sell your home or rent out your home? I did actually attempt to rent out the house just because Airbnb wasn't bringing in as much income to break even or to bring in additional income. So I did consider renting out the house, and I did attempt to, but where my house is, there are so many new builds, and at the time people were buying them like crazy in 2023, and they just built like new build after new build after new build, which is part of why I chose this area, because I knew the value of this area was going to go up because it was all completely new build houses, new build neighborhoods, and there's going to be a lot of potential for this area to come up. But with that being said, since the housing market did slow down, the values of the homes in this area have pretty much remained the same for now, and there you can just get a brand new build for the same amount as pretty much when I moved in. So I say all that to say, when I attempted to rent, I wasn't getting much traction on renting, and right now selling is just not really much of an option in this area because you can get something brand new that no one ever lived in for around the same price. And yeah, so again, it actually technically is an option. I can put it for sale, and there might be someone who potentially wants to buy it if I put it under the value, but that is last resort. Also, I know I could get a roommate. That is also an option, but I'm putting that in the last resort as well, and I'm just going to try to put in extra effort to not have to get a roommate, not have to rent the house, and not have to sell the house, so I can remain with a decent commute from work and from school now. So it's not off the table, it's just last resort. So I also want to discuss what's different this time than the Cassidy I told you guys about all of these years. I'm actually okay with closing my credit cards. I'm actually like, you know what? I'm just different and I just can't have a credit card. So I actually am okay with closing them. Like I said, I already closed 3 of them. I have one final one, and as soon as that's paid off, that is getting closed, and I'm completely okay with that. It's a bit nerve-wracking, but you know what? God's got me, so I'm okay. I don't have anything to worry about. B, I am bringing in an accountability partner, and I'm actually really nervous to tell them the actual details of my finances. They know I've been like trying to save and pay off debt, but they don't know like exactly how much debt I'm in, and they may see this video, but I'm going to be telling them actually in a couple hours, so this video won't be out yet. But yes, so I will be informing someone who is a lot more frugal than I am, and a lot more frugal than how I grew up in my family. So someone who can actually make sure I stick to what I need to do will be more informed with my finances, and they're around me so much that they can genuinely help me stay on track. So those are the 2 big differences in this time versus every other time. Because if I don't have a credit card, then I can't get into debt. And I'm not the kind of person who I don't do buy now, pay laters. I don't really take out personal loans. I only took out the 401k loan to consolidate. So that's not really in my nature. I don't buy designer. I don't really go shopping too much. Literally, I spend money on gifts for people. I love going ham on gifts for people. I spend money on investing in myself if I have a business idea, a film idea, etc. I just like, I'll just pay for the whole thing myself on my credit card. Yeah, so those are honestly where all my money goes, is in those 2 things. So ultimately, the plan is the Dave Ramsey 7 baby step plan. 1, save my 1K emergency fund. Done. 2, pay off consumer debt. My goal is to pay it off in those 2 years. I know I told you guys we're not trying to do everything under 30, but hey, why not? Let's give it a shot and try to pay off all my consumer debt before I turn 30. 3, save 3 to 6 months emergency fund. Probably gonna save 6 months just because I feel like that number sounds better. 4, invest 15% of my income. 5, save for my child's college fund. It's funny, when I first read the book, I'm like, I'm probably gonna get this gift at 5 because I don't have any kids. But yeah, not only by the time I get to this step, we will probably be needing to do it. Step 6, pay off the house early. And then step 7, build wealth and give. I cannot wait for the day that I see step 7. So stay tuned, stick with me. We're gonna get to step 7, guys, okay? We're gonna get there. Honestly, the last thing that I wanna say, and I did kind of mention this in my feeling behind in your 20s video, but I do feel like life is very purposeful, and I do feel like I'm a very spiritual person, and I feel like God is completely in control. So I do ask myself, like, dang, like, why when I first read Total Money Makeover, why couldn't I fully stick to it then? And like I said, there's several factors. There's social media. All my friends in their 20s are traveling the world and buying new luxury cars and buying homes and doing this and doing that. So there's obviously the pressure of social media and keeping up with the Joneses, and there's also just how I grew up and the people in my life who I take advice from and respect their opinion. And you know, they say I can get a car, luxury car, and I'll be like, okay, let me get a luxury car. It's just like, you know, confirming what I already felt from what I saw online. But you know, here we are. I do look back and I'm like, why didn't God stop me from getting this home? And why didn't God stop me from doing this and this and that? And I do believe that I was placed in this home. And I'm not saying like, I feel like this is where I need this house and this is everything to me. Like, I'm going to try my best to keep this home because I feel like it was a blessing that God gave me. But ultimately, I'm not attached enough to it to ruin my finances and ruin my financial future. I know that is more important to me. I know there are so many things when it comes to stress and relationships and children that would be so much better if I am really good at my finances, and I would much prefer that than this house. So I'm not completely opposed to anything, but I just do feel like God gave me this house. This house is a blessing, so I'm gonna do my best to keep it and still achieve the rest of my goals. So that's kind of where I am with that and with purpose. And so yes, this is not the best place to be, but this is where I am right now, and we can only go up from here and try to be better from right here. So that's what I'm gonna do. If you're in a situation and you're like, dang, you feel so far gone, it's fine. Decide right now, this is the time that you're gonna make a change. And that's great. You're already looking up, you're already doing better than so many people who 5 years from now are gonna be like, oh, maybe it's time to make a change. So right now is the best time to do better and to get better, and that is what we're gonna do. So I hope you guys decide to follow along on this journey. Thank you for allowing me to be transparent and open about this, and I'm just excited to finally get this done. And it's not gonna be easy, it's not gonna be fun, but I just feel like if you don't have to go through it alone, then it'll make it a lot better. So make sure you stay tuned, subscribe, turn on notifications, because this channel is going to be a lot about that journey. Right now, my life is that journey, so that's what we're gonna talk about for now. And you know, once I pay off my debt, then maybe we'll get more to travel content and this and that. But for now, your girl is staying at home and filming videos. That's all I'm gonna do. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.